Happy Monday. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go live everywhere. Okay. Facebook is giving me a hard time. Say hi. Let me know where you're watching. And I'm going to try to go live on Facebook. Okay, here we go. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So excited today to be talking about, first of all, I'm excited that it's the last week of February because it's been a cold month and it's raining outside. So I'm excited today to be talking about polished and perfect and what that looks like over 50 and how we can make choices that are going to have us looking and feeling our best. First of all, just a little fashion history lesson. So 10-ish years ago, 15 years ago, I don't remember when the Kardashians first really came into like the public eye, but they brought a very specific aesthetic with them. And that aesthetic was really a very polished aesthetic. Now, it might not be polished in the way that you consider polished. Like you might think of a classic person as being more polished, but their style is polished in a different way. It's very like curated, it's very calculated, it's very smooth, it's very sleek, it's very intentional. And so whatever you think of their style, when they came in, they brought a whole wave of a specific type of aesthetic with them. And that aesthetic was this like contoured, highlighted, blown out hair, overly accentuated, I think, overly accentuated body proportions, like that whole aesthetic that came in when the Kardashians, came in, is really one of the things that has influenced what we've seen in style and in beauty in the last 10, 15 years, where things are getting progressively more, where we're doing more and more to ourselves to achieve more and more of a specific type of look, right? So it's a very polished aesthetic, but it's also a very high maintenance aesthetic. So what I want to break down for you today is how pursuing that perfect look, and again, it doesn't matter whether you think the Kardashian look is your idea of perfect, but whatever that perfect look is for you, where there's not a hair out of place, where the makeup is always on point, where the clothes are always very, very specific and very curated and very intentional, that perfect look can actually work against us as we get a little bit older. So there are two schools of thought when it comes to style, and two types of style personalities that I talk about a lot. One of them is the classic style, one is the creative style. Now, by definition, classic style tends to be more polished and creative style tends to be more eclectic. So you want to ask yourself, like, which of these broad and general categories do I find myself leaning towards the most? Many of us are going to be a mix of both, but do you find yourself leaning more towards the classic and polished aesthetic, or do you find yourself leaning more towards the creative and eclectic and a little bit more a little less polished aesthetic? So those are two different types of personal style. And then, the next question to ask yourself is, how do your physical features feed into one type of style over the other? Like, do you look like, if you were not dressed and someone just saw you from the neck up, would they say you look like a classic person, or would they say that you look like a creative person? How do your physical features, your natural features, and your beauty choices play into classic versus creative, right? So let me talk about why I think that polished should not necessarily be the end goal for women over 50. So one of the things I get asked a lot, and some of the feedback that I get a lot is, I just want to look polished. I just want to look polished. I just want to look pulled together. I just want to look like I want to hit this standard of polished and pulled together on a daily basis. What is the problem with that? Is there a problem with that? Comment and let me know whether you think your style is more classic or whether your style is more creative, whether you lean more towards polished or whether you lean more towards eclectic, funky, kind of interesting, a little bit more unconventional. I want to know in the comments where you fall in this line. And I'm going to talk about the pitfalls of polished. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Okay, so one of the pitfalls of going in that overly polished direction, and again, I'm talking more like either very, very classic, or I'm talking about over the top polished a la Kardashians, right? So there are two different types of polished, but it's like, again, the makeup, the hair, everything being very sleek, very shiny, very done. What are the downfalls of that aesthetic? One of the downfalls is that it can look stiff and overdone. And the thing is that if you like the stiff look or the overdone look, or you can pull it off at 30, it becomes harder to pull off at 50. Perfectly styled hair, heavy makeup, overly coordinated and overly planned outfits can come across as rigid rather than effortless. And especially as we get older, that look can start looking a little bit more rigid. Um, so that's interesting. Gut reaction is polished, but I think creatives is more realistic. This is the thing. We are taught that we should be polished. We are taught that we should be put together. Like that is the aesthetic that most of us feel like we're striving for. Is polished and put together. But again, I'm here to show you the flip side of looking polished and put together. So overly crisp structured outfits can look rigid rather than effortlessly chic. And so when you're looking at putting together your outfits, ask yourself, if you're leaning towards classic, if you're leaning towards polished, ask yourself, does this look stiff and overdone? A little softness in your outfits can go a long way to making you look a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more approachable. Okay, that's the second thing. Polished can make you look unapproachable. If you're overly polished, you have this hardness that can make you look unapproachable. So a too perfect look creates a sense of formality where people don't feel like they can necessarily relax around you. And it sometimes feels out of place in casual settings, or it can make you feel a little less relatable. Another downside of overly polished and overly put together looks over 50 is that they can feel really high maintenance. Let's face it, if you're getting the eyebrows done and the eyelashes done and the hair done and the skin done and you may enjoy this, and if you do, absolutely continue. But constantly striving for perfection can feel really exhausting and sometimes impractical for everyday life. So aiming for perfection can really be this hamster wheel that you're on that you feel like you can't get off of. If you're doing it for yourself, then by all means continue. But if you're doing it because you're trying to check these polished and perfect boxes and you feel like that's the only way you're going to show up as your best self, I'm here to like free you a little bit from that vicious cycle, right? So the idea that you need to always look done is something that is rooted in the style rules that we grew up with. Many of us grew up with this idea that we need to look done all the time. We need to be, like this certain level all the time. And what happens is not only are we on this constant quest to keep up with that, but it also can end up looking outdated. So style today is a lot. It is exhausting. Yes, style today is a lot more about personality than it is about perfection. So it's choosing personality over perfection. Now, again, if your personal style leans polished, you want to do that and at the same time inject some personality in it. The next thing about polished and perfect style that we don't often think about is that polished style can age us. It really can age us because hardness and formality are aging. And this is why when I'm styling a mother of the bride, or when I'm styling a woman over 50 for a corporate look, I make sure that in addition to the formality, the structure, the tailored pieces, that there's an element of softness. That element of softness and that element of balance and the element of something being just a little bit off is what's going to bring a little personality and also a little modernity to your outfits. Okay. It can feel dated. I was talking about that. Modern style is all about ease, and polished style is all about control. And so, the balance between looking polished and looking effortless is where is the balance that many of us are trying to strike. So, contemporary fashion really leans more towards relaxed sophistication rather than things being rigid and perfect. Modern style is more relaxed, sometimes to its detriment, right? Modern style can be so relaxed that people show up in PJs and Walmart. I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about creating your own style rules and really leaning into your own aesthetic and not leaning into dated style rules that may not apply to you. So one of the rules that many of us grew up with is that you're supposed to match metals and not mix metals. Now, the current aesthetic, and definitely the current trend in 2025, but the current aesthetic for the last few years has been more mixing than matching. But you might be a matcher and you might be like, I just really like to wear all gold. Another way that this plays out is in shoes and bags. Do you like to mix or match shoes and bags? So giving yourself the freedom to bend those rules when you choose to in a way that aligns with your personal style can really help you create softness in your look. So that's one of the ways, Carol, it's like mixing rather than matching. It's another, so the shoe and bag, breaking that up. Another way, like I said, mixing the metals is another way. Another way is to combine structured and soft elements in the same outfit. Structured and soft. So it's about, instead of adding a crisp button down under a crisp blazer worn with crisp pants and structured shoes like a loafer or a pump, instead, what about adding a silky, flowy blouse, maybe in silk or chiffon, something with some drape to it underneath the structured blazer, and pairing it with denim or leather instead of pairing it with the structured, or doing the pantsuit and just switching out the structured top with a soft, drapey, silky, or chiffon top. It's adding structure and softness in every outfit. You're going to have a polished look, but it's going to be more modern. It's going to be more effortless, and it's going to be more fresh. It's going to look less dated and less aging. Okay, another problem with polished style can read as trying too hard. And again, that's really kind of the opposite of the aesthetic that's happening in style, and that has happened in style for the last few years. Now, Kardashians operate in their own little bubble of style, but for the most part, the aesthetic is a little bit more effortless. And the reason I would encourage you to lean into the more effortless aesthetic is because it is not only less maintenance and easier to pull off, but it's also more personality forward, and it's also more modern and less aging. Okay, so let's talk about how some of the aspects of style that we can tweak if we're trying to find that right balance between looking polished and looking effortless. So, I talked about stiff fabrics, combining stiff and soft fabrics in every outfit. The next thing I want to talk about is hair. Now, because of my hair, I'm never going to have that polished look. I will never look overly polished because my hair is textured and it is never going to be sleek. So that is a built-in aspect of my personal style. So ask yourself, what are my physical features? And are my physical features polished, or are my physical features more relaxed or more creative? That's going to play a role. So me wearing a very structured outfit with my creative beauty look is going to look less structured than someone else who's wearing a very polished outfit and also has really sleek hair and really very glam makeup and major pieces of jewelry. That's going to create a different level of polish. So you can add softness to your outfits with your beauty choices as well. So overly styled hair is one of the ways that we lean towards looking a little too polished and can definitely be aging and dated. So if your hair is very, very off from your natural color and a very high maintenance look, like you're naturally a brunette and you're dyeing your hair very, very light, or you're naturally a blonde and you're dyeing your hair black, that's going to look over the top and a little bit on the dated side as well. So talking about perfectly set hair, talking about really like makeup where it's contoured and highlighted within an inch of its life, talking about perfectly set and sprayed in place hair. All of those details are going to create a polished look that is more dated and more aging. So instead, think about softer hair, which is going to frame your face a little bit more, softer makeup, which is going to bring out your features a little bit more without looking stiff and without looking harsh. Heavy and matte makeup is one thing I would say we should kind of start gravitating away from as we get older, because again, that like really heavy full coverage foundation, lots and lots of eyeliner, and I love makeup, powdery matte looks, those are all really going to create a stiff and overly polished look as we get older. And I talked a little bit about the perfectly coordinated accessories, but matching shoes, bags, and jewelry, when everything matches. Now, I'm going to make an exception for this because matching is, if you're matching neutrals, a bag and shoes in black, you're matching a belt and a bag and shoes in brown, that's going to be much less dated looking, and it's going to look modern, it's going to look elegant, it's going to look, it's going to look chic. But if you're matching a red belt, a red bag, and red shoes, you're going to have a very specific look that can definitely often look a little bit out of style. So someone's asking if they have fine straight hair, is it possible to have an edgier look? Yes. And, in the same way that it's possible for me to have a sleeker look or a more polished look, even with my curly hair, it comes down to how you style what you've got. So if you want your hair to be edgier, edgy hair involves having a choppy, maybe kind of a little bit of a rougher haircut. Maybe it could involve adding some texture to your hair with products. Creating a more polished look can involve creating a sleeker texture to your hair. For example, if I put my hair up in a like a tight bun and like slicked it back, or I did a slick back pony, I'm going to get a very different look than with my hair with the long loose curls that I naturally wear my hair at. So yes, you can absolutely play with these elements and really look at your overall look as a composition. What elements, and even break it down this way: is my hair polished or is it creative? Is my makeup polished or is it more natural or more creative or more edgy, or whatever it is, that word that you're going to use to describe your style? Is my outfit more polished or is it more creative? Is it structured or is it soft? And try to incorporate elements of both to create a balanced look that really feels like you. I keep my hair as close to my natural color as I can too. And I kind of feel like that's something that works for most women most of the time. So hairspray is fine, and many people use hairspray to keep their hair in place. But what we're talking about here is when it looks like super, super sleek and like you do this and not a single hair will ever move. So it's really that anchor woman, that helmet hair. I was joking with friends on Saturday that the aesthetic in the 80s made everybody look 10, 15 years older. My senior class picture, I had the bangs where you did the curling iron, then you pulled out the curling iron and the bangs just stayed in that curled shape. And then I had hair that was set with big rollers. And then we took the rollers out, and then I just had this big brown helmet of hair that was hairsprayed in place. That made me look like I was 30 when I was 17 when I took those pictures. Like that look is the opposite of what we're trying to achieve, I think, as we get older, because it is stiff and it is aging, and it is going to be instantly a dated look. So it's really about balancing polished and softness, balancing polished and creativity, balancing polished and personality in your everyday looks. There's another way that this shows up, and overly polished style over 50, and it's what they call pearls and twin set syndrome. So again, I remember wearing a pink twin set and a strand of pearls when I was 20. I would not wear that same exact aesthetic now at 50, almost 55, because it's going to look very classic, and it's going to look, I will share my senior picture. I'll have to have my mom send it to me because it's not cute. So sticking too closely to classic traditional dressing without any twist or any modern element can really, really feel dated and look dated. And again, dated will often make us look and feel older and stiffer and less approachable, less playful, less personality, less modern than we want to look. Okay, so too perfect equals less personality. And what we're trying to strive for is the right balance between overdone and effortless. Overdone and effortless. And I will tell you that that balance is going to be different for every single woman. And you want to find where you land on the overdone versus effortless continuum. Pearls are not at all dated. Pearls are actually a major trend for 2025. And I love pearls. I think they're beautiful. I think they're feminine. But wearing a simple strand of pearls with a very classic outfit is going to be a very classic aesthetic. Wearing a simple strand of pearls with a t-shirt and jeans is going to be a much more modern way to do it. And then there are also more modern pearl pieces of jewelry that are out there that can bring pearls into 2025 and not have them look so like prim, right? You wore a t-shirt and a strand of pearls for most of your 30s, which you spent in Barnes. I love that. I love that. And I love pearls. I think they're very feminine and very, very pretty. So this is the thing. There is no hard and fast rule about how and what you wear. It's about finding that balance that works for you. I'm giving you ideas. So when you're taking an overall assessment of your aesthetic, ask yourself, do I lean more polished or do I lean more personality and more creative? And how can I find that right balance for myself? And then looking at things like your hairstyle, your makeup, your jewelry, your clothes, the structure versus softness in your clothes. In other words, tailored pieces and drapey pieces in your clothes, your accessories, your approach to accessories, whether you really are like, ooh, should I do it this way? Or whether you're more, oh, let me try this. All of those are going to play a role in where you fall on the spectrum from polished to creative. And so you need to find your happy place. But what I would encourage you all to do is find a place that works for you, that gives you a look that is modern and effortless and fresh, but also leans into your own personal style, whether that personal style is classic or whether it's edgy, whether it's polished or whether it's preppy. Like, find your own version of that and break down those details for yourself, and look at how your aesthetic plays a role and how people approach you in your lifestyle, and how much time that it takes for you to spend on curating and creating your look, on whether you enjoy that or whether you feel like you're on a hamster wheel and you're forced to do that. All of these are going to play a role. This is a very personal, and this is definitely a more of a conversational type of live this morning, but I really want you to be thinking about polished versus personality and how that plays out in your personal style, and how you can freshen up or add more modernity to your looks by thinking about the different elements in your aesthetic. You cannot take one of these elements on their own and look at them. Like sharing a strand of pearls in the Facebook group and saying, are these polished or are these creative? That's not enough, right? The hair, is it polished or is it creative? That's not enough. It's all about the overall look and how the different pieces interact with each other. So I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Again, a little bit more of a conversational live, but I wanted to talk about this because I have so many women who have really cool, interesting, unique, and eclectic style reaching out to me and saying, I want to look more polished. I want to look more pulled together. And what I want to say is, you look fabulous the way that you are. And that should not be everyone's goal. And for the women who polished and perfect come by that naturally, I'm not one of those women, then you want to ask yourself, how can I also keep my polished, keep my classic, but also inject some of my personal style and my personality into my outfits? And how can I let go of some of the things that I might be holding on to too tightly in terms of that constant hamster wheel of creating this polished look. So thank you guys so much. Baroque pearls. I love Baroque pearls. Love pearls too, mixed with another simple necklace layer. Yes, necklace layering pearls is a great way to get a more modern look. If your outfit is classic, you sometimes avoid pearls. You wear them with other more modern outfits. Yes, 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 yes. These are the conversations we need to be having. It's how we take the pieces that speak to our personal style and bring them into 2025, and how you can curate that and create that look for yourself. So I'm always here to help you be more you. It's to help you be more you and help you do it in a way that feels fresh and modern. Those are the two aspects that I'm always going to be leaning into and encouraging you to do the same. So I hope that you enjoy this. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this, and let's continue that conversation in the comments, both on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.